Lucy and I are here today in my studio in Hackney Wick, and we're here to talk about our project Recreation. Recreation started with an invitation from Stefan at BCMG and a loose conversation about bringing sculpture and art and combining that with music. That was a sort of early conversations, but it spiraled into this whole project, and each of us have also brought in other people into the mix, and it's just turned into this collective thing. The audience might almost feel like a participant. It's no stage per se, and everything is quite immersive.
It's different to a normal concert experience. It's not just like an ensemble and an audience. There's sculpture, then a bit of music. It's going to be an unusual product of an exciting collaboration.
My name's Haroon Mirza, and I'm an artist, and I work predominantly with electricity, and my work usually manifests in installations and sculptures and immersive spaces. Sound is an inherent part of my practice, and a lot of my objects, installations and environments, let's say, have an acoustic element to them or an audio part to them. And that audio usually comes from electrical signals in the most part, but then there's also other types of audio, electromagnetic interference and audio from moving image works, both recorded and live audio, and maybe sounds from natural phenomena such as moving water or other naturally driven devices. Collaboration has always been a really big part of my work, and I feel like the creative process is such an open field, and I admire so many different types of practice and so many different artists, and obviously everyone has their own unique voice and way of doing things and skill set, so it's always fruitful to collaborate and kind of make those connections in a way that something new can come out. You know, it's a synthesis of creativity which I find interesting.
I'm Lucy Armstrong. I'm a composer, and I love collaborating, working with writers and working with singers. I think my music's quite dramatic and quite visceral and quite unpredictable. Everything in this project is quite new and exciting, which is great because everything is pulling me out of any kind of default. It's been exciting to look at Haroon's work and work with David on the text and go into a territory that's quite different to anything I've done before, and to just really have fun with the creative process. Something I really like about Haroon's work and also David's work is that there's a real sense of fun and also sort of sensuality. It's quite physical, and so that's really nice to work with as a composer. So trying to not only work with the cerebral but also the physical and the intuitive, and to just work by really getting lost in a world that's new for everyone. As well as Juliet Fraser, who is singing, I'm writing for cello, which is exciting because a lot of the text and Haroon's work works with waves and vibrations, so thinking about vibrations on the string is really nice, and also bass clarinet and clarinet.
Step siren is an object made up of speaker cabinets and some old speakers and a stepper motor which sort of spins around, which is a sort of automated motor that spins around, and it moves this crash around slowly while a metal bar sort of goes in and out of it, creating all these both acoustic and electronic sounds. And there's a sound of an interference, which is a light bulb, an energy-saving light bulb, interfering with an old transistor radio. It also acts as an instrument, so by touching it, if you're grounded, if you don't have any shoes on, you can create sounds of 50 hertz. So the drummer is an autonomous drum machine that plays sometimes tabla, sometimes bongos, but a pair of drums, and it's automated to just do a very simple thing. But because of the chaotic nature of how things are, the weight is distributed on these solenoids that tap the drums, and how, I guess, gravity works, the rhythms become very natural sounding. So this is a turntable theremin, I guess an instrument that I developed a few years ago. It's a theremin that sits on a turntable, and as it spins round, it sort of the ground in its own power supply does the effect of what a hand would normally do with the theremin. So it creates sort of rhythmic patterns which can be composed with. It's been quite interesting, hasn't it? Like talking about, even in different languages, certainly conversations I've had with yourself and Juliet, when I'm talking in frequencies and you're talking in notes, and just those kind of differences, and then somehow we meet in the middle, and we both know what we're talking about, so it all kind of makes sense, and but it's a learning experience, and something new keeps on emerging somehow.
Yeah, I think that's nice that you have a different language with music, which brings a new perspective to my own, which is exciting, and it's also provoking me to work in a different way to usual. Usually I might sit down with my manuscripts and paper, but actually with this and improvising with the bowls, the cerruti box, what I'm finding is, because it's 111 hertz and 4/4/4, which is sharp of an A, actually my usual defaults aren't that useful to me, which means that I'm working a lot more physically, a lot more practically, and so far actually I haven't been working on paper or Sibelius, which is the notation stuff that I usually work with. I've been working entirely with audio so far. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, so I've been sketching on Logic, sketching by singing, and actually when I come to write it down, I'm delaying that because it's all slightly different.
Yeah, and I'm also just really thinking of these objects that were made as sculptures as instruments. Not thinking about them as instruments, but also as set. Which is kind of a very different thing to presenting them in a gallery space, for instance.
Yeah, and it provides like a strong atmosphere. When I imagine the space, I can imagine like all of the sculptures and Juliet Fraser there, and so I can already feel the atmosphere and how that interacts with David's text, which actually gives quite a clear world as well for me to start with to add music to.